everybody, this is Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report, and I want to talk a little bit about what they call the elephant in the room, and that's Korea. All the attention lately has been focused on Syria and some of the atrocities that happened there with that chemical weapon storage bin being attacked. There's some, was it a red flag? Wasn't a red flag? Was it appropriate to bomb it? Was it not? And the story goes on. But what's happening when a lot of people are lost in discussing Bashar al-Assad, I'm sorry, they're ignoring what's happening over in North Korea. And I think alternative news has done a great job of picking up what's going on over there, but I think major media has been dropping the ball. And you're starting to see more of it, and that's because they almost have to. When Drudge Report puts out that 150,000 soldiers are being rushed to the North Korean border from China, it has to almost get picked up by major media. But without something like a powerhouse like Drudge there, they would tend to ignore that type of stuff. You didn't hear too much about China saying, look, we're not taking this coal. I think the president said it was 2. I thought it was 12 coal trucks that China sent back. They said, look, we're not going to take your coal. And they're starting to penalize North Korea. You don't hear any of that stuff, and that's because of the Middle East. Obama took one process going on how to handle this mad fat guy over there, and Trump is a lot more different. Trump is a lot more aggressive. Trump draws a red line and acts when someone crosses the red line. He's been doing his missile tests. He's been carrying them out, and this is that Kim Jong-un, the fat guy. And he's continuing to move forward with his nuclear capability, stating that what happened over in Syria is giving him more rights to move forward with that nuclear capability. The whole Asian Pacific area there is, there's many challenges, and it's starting to get very destabilized. If you look at what China's doing in the South China Sea, Japan's starting to get worried. They're starting to beef up their military now. Vietnam's concerned, South Korea, obviously, if you look at the border there, I think we have something like 50,000 U.S. soldiers on the border of South Korea and North Korea. We're obviously still at war. That war never really officially ended. And, you got the fat guy over there saying that he's going to bomb our ships, our armadas. Now we're sitting that way. And so what are we to do with this? What are we to do with the security of our allies like Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and the military personnel that are deployed there? They're deployed there as a deterrent. I don't know how much of a deterrent, and I always wondered that 50,000 soldiers, when you're taking on one of the largest armies out there of some, pretty extreme culture, extreme beliefs, and people that. If you guys all remember Japan, those guys they came at us. They had their suicide plans. They were people that would rather die than give up or surrender, and that's basically the same philosophy that North Koreans work under. China, they'd rather not deal with any actions on North Korea. They don't want to have to, but it's their neighbor. It's their client state, similar to how Russia is Syria's client state there too. They don't want the U.S. to come over there. They don't want us getting more involved in that region, obviously. So what do they do? You're hearing now that they're threatening a preemptive strike against the nuclear facilities in North Korea. They're sending back the coal in terms of trade. They don't want a major refugee crisis. That's why they sent 150,000 soldiers there, because they don't want all those refugees running up into China. And the other thing is, if they did bomb that facility, they got 150,000 soldiers there. And so what do? You got this nut job that is telling all of his people that he's concerned that we're going to do a first strike to the United States, which we may, and Tillerson and others have made it clear that that's on the table. So he's nervous. And what's not to stop this mad, fat China man from going across and dropping bombs? And it's not a good situation all around with the increased tensions there. And unfortunately, it's just not getting enough airtime out there. The Chinese have been worried that Korea, despite their progress with the nuclear capabilities, that they're a little unhinged. You know, and they've been playing a diplomatic game between the United States and North Korea. But like I said, they have every reason to be concerned, from the potential refugee crisis, the potential nuclear fallout if there is bombing taking place, the potential of having the United States military presence beefed up there. And what about us? Do we go at it as some kind of lone wolf? You know, do we say, hey, does McMaster's go over to China and say, hey, China, help us with this problem, or you know, like Donald Trump said, now handle it now, or we're going to step in? What has to happen there to essentially denuclearize the state? And, you know, a lot of people always say that. Do you have the right? The United States has thousands of nuclear bombs. Do we? What gives us the right to go and dictate which countries can and cannot have a nuclear bomb? Because we call Iran crazy. In some parts of the world, Iranians and their philosophy and their ideology is not nuts, and they should be allowed to have a nuclear bomb. Some would argue that Israel shouldn't have a nuclear bombs. So what gives us, you know, a lot of times people often wonder, what gives us the right to determine who does and does not get a nuclear bomb? One thing for certain is we're living in some uncertain times. And people like Graham made that clear when he basically said that Trump is unhinged and you just don't want to upset him because you never know what's going to happen. But it's clear that the United States is, under Trump, is not going to tolerate any brutal regimes threatening security around the world. It does crack me up, though, when you see Trump out there and saying, okay, I don't like that he's using cluster bombs and gas on his people in Syria. And if he did do it, if Assad did do it, yet the United States and Trump seem to have no problem selling millions upon millions of bombs, cluster bombs, all kinds of bombs, barrel bombs to Saudi Arabia so that they can kill and maim innocent children there. You know, you hear Trump a lot of times saying, oh, the kids, I saw them with Syria and they were bombed and it was, I can't handle that. Yet, you didn't see that. You don't see any cries. You don't see any cameras over there. You don't see any cameras when these terrorists go out and kill innocent mothers, fathers, grandparents, children. Yet you do see it in the Syria, and it's ironic how media gets out there and plays and basically dictates what the storyline. So basically, back to this whole Korea thing. You know, obviously China has to address the issue. They're the ones with the relationship there with North Korea. And they got to do it in a manner that will prevent an all-out nuclear war. And I'm getting more and more nervous, concerned that that's not going to happen. You know, the art of the deal is not going to be struck here, especially with this crazy fat guy there. He's proven time and time, you know, a lot of times he'll sit there and say, we're going to do this, and he doesn't, and you know, he's all hype. But now I'm starting to get concerned. If he feels threatened, if he feels like China may actually bomb his facility, and he's nervous that he's got 150,000 soldiers at his northern border, if he's concerned that he sees the United States moving ships there, and there's talk about us putting nuclear bombs in South Korea, he might start thinking, you know what? The invasion's coming. I got to take the first step, and I got to start dropping bombs. And that's when we're in a world of hurt. This has been Frankie Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report.